Sometimes my mind will wander, wondering what images or symbols from our contemporary world Jesus might have used in parable fashion. And I want to share with you a piece of historical trivia from the city of Pittsburgh. I did not know, maybe you did, that favorite condiment of ours, ketchup, is hundreds of years old. It had been around for hundreds of years before Heinz made it so popular in the late 1800s. Originally, it was a fish sauce used to flavor or spice things up. It had come from the Orient. It was dark in color, and it could indeed sometimes be quite bitter or rancid. Things would be mixed with it, and even the early forms of our ketchup using tomatoes could sometimes, as one chef described it, be just a putrid, awful tasting thing. When Heinz came on the market, one of the things that he was committed to was the production of ketchup that would be appealing. And he did that in two ways. He had obviously his own recipe for the use of tomatoes to turn them into a sauce that would have wide appeal. But it was the production of that recipe in a pure, sanitized way that kept it from going bad. It remained with a wonderful, bright red color. And while the common use of glass as a container for things being sold was emerging, often that glass was brown in color. It was Heinz who decided that his pretty red ketchup needed to be in clear glass so you could see how real, authentic, pure it was. We looked in our worship at the images from 1 Peter about what it means to reveal what is being kept in our hearts. And it seems that authenticity, the transparency of who we are, shines through what we keep and harbor and feed within. The people that are important to us and how we see them comes out in the way in which we live and do our work. And if deep in our heart is the purity of God's love, then we increase the likelihood that we can reveal that which is good, adds flavor, goodwill, love to the lives of others. You also probably know, if you've purchased, for it was a good marketing tool, Heinz ketchup, that it gets stuck in that narrow neck of the bottle. And while the tendency is to bang mightily on the bottom of the bottle, all that tends to do is move the thickness of the ketchup into the narrow part of the container and block it up even more. Times when I'm so troubled that nothing is flowing from me. The proper way in the old days with the glass bottles of ketchup was instead to tap, especially on that number 57 for the varieties of Heinz, that would then would stimulate, stir, would trouble the ketchup just enough that it would flow freely from the bottle, enhancing whatever food was receiving the sauce. One of the most freeing phrases I ever read is from that book I've been sharing with you, The Testament of Devotion, where the author Thomas Kelly says that sometimes our biggest problem is that even with good intentions, we are so busy trying to do all of the things for God that we think God wants us to do, that we cannot hear God asking us to do that which is our particular task. And sometimes we're so busy, troubled by all that we see around us that isn't quite right. We run ourselves ragged and fall exhausted, thinking we need to die on every cross. Kelly says we are not called to die on every cross. Each of us does have a particular task, a cross that is just ours, and we need to be stirred up and provoked to find it and be faithful to it. May we keep the love of God in our hearts so that we can hear and see and love in the way that God intends, a way that is just right for you. Another way will be just right for me.